Republicans proposed a number of amendments, none of which got adopted, but we still gave it the old college try nonetheless. Came close on a couple of them. But I'm pleased to say that in the Senate, with all their deliberations, I did adopt a number of those. In fact, I think 7 or so, at least, of the 8 that we had proposed. And we'll touch upon those with speakers that are coming up. And I think we're here to say that overall, we think the Senate did a good job on the budget. They adopted measures that we stood for in the House, Republican items with no new taxes or fees, and kept spending within reasonable limits, and relied on revenue estimates that are reasonable. Obviously, the revenue estimates of the Senate are somewhat higher than the House, which is to be expected given they have more time and to get more revenue estimates in for them to base their budget on. But we think overall they did an excellent job, and we're here to support them in any way we can, and obviously try to convince as many House colleagues as we can during what will be probably a fairly long and tedious committee of conference to see the wisdom in what the Senate had done. And with some other specifics, I would like to introduce Neil Kirk of the House Finance Committee. Neil?
Thank you, Gene. The Senate budget is largely the budget where House Republicans tried to go. It meets the growing needs of the state's citizens and in a way that the state's taxpayers can afford. It's a live-within-your-means budget. There are no new or increased taxes or uncertain revenues, such as gambling. It expands human services with increased revenue from the expanding economy on our existing tax structure. It expands jobs in the economy by allowing business tax cuts to take effect as current law requires. It allows current programs such as ehld to be fully funded before new programs are added. It delays the Medicaid expansion that's been proposed and is in the House budget until the financial consequences can be understood and evaluated. It increases payments for long-term care to private and county nursing homes to the benefit of county taxpayers. It restores education funding by over $100 million for higher education, as well as adequate education grants to cities and towns to the tune of $4 million. It differs from the House budget and the Senate budget by roughly $400 million in the case of the governor's budget, and a large part of that is not affecting state services. For example, about 214 of the $400 million is due to a more realistic estimate of how much money the state will take in from the Medicaid enhancement tax, the so-called Med tax. It also reduces federal funds by some $90 to $100 million in a way that the same money can be obtained, but it would come in through the fiscal committee as opposed to coming in through the budget. That's not the way I would prefer to do it, but it's what the Senate did. And then, of course, it engaged in several back-of-the-budget reductions, such as the $50 million in wages and salaries for state employees, and a $7 million reduction in the Health and Human Services budget. But the budget increases current general fund spending by 2.8% and total spending by 6.5% over the total budget, over the current budget. In other words, this is a budget that is growing to meet the growing needs of the state. This is not a budget that involves cuts. Mental health was fully funded, the DD wait list is fully funded, all of the kinds of things that are really important are covered in this budget, and it is larger than where we are now. It's a budget, I think, that if it were to be adopted by the House and Senate and signed by the governor, would be a very good thing for the citizens of our state. Thank you.
Thanks, Neil. Next up, I'd like to introduce Laurie Sanborn, a Republican policy leader in the House and also chairman of the House Business Caucus, to talk about some of the business taxes.
Good afternoon. Senate Republicans have worked very hard and put forth a responsible budget that solves the real problems New Hampshire people face. This budget includes reasonable, realistic, and carefully considered compromises so we can take care of those most in need while simultaneously promoting a strong economy and private sector job creation and helping New Hampshire families and small businesses thrive. House Republicans committed to do everything they could to improve the climate for economic growth and job creation in our state. The Senate Republicans are supporting that effort with their budget. We believe the business community will be pleased to see the policies in this budget that encourage growth. What matters most to these businesses, to our state's job creators? Low and predictable taxes, preserving a climate of stability and financial responsibility, and an educated workforce. In the past 2 years, we reformed a number of tax laws which made our state a better place to start or operate a business. Increasing the threshold for filing business enterprises taxes from $150,000 to $200,000 in sales helped our smallest, most vulnerable family and startup businesses survive and succeed. Increasing the amount of net operating losses an employer could offset their taxes made our state much more competitive and keeps these companies in business, even in cyclical industries. While the governor and the Democrat-controlled House killed these positive reforms, Senate Republicans have made the wise decision to restore them. The Senate budget also removed other tax increases, most notably the gas tax and the tobacco tax increases, which would have hurt New Hampshire's employers and taken money out of the productive economy. Business owners want predictability and stability from their government. Uncertainty results in hesitation and caution and generally prevents employers from expanding, hiring, and taking entrepreneurial risks. The Senate budget keeps our promises and spends within its means so there are no surprises later, reassuring employers that New Hampshire wants them here and wants them to succeed. It even fixes the newly but retroactively enforced business tax on employee tips so our hospitality industry continue to grow and hire. And it does all of this without increasing taxes. It does all of this while increasing funding to our universities and community colleges, while providing funding for our charter schools, continuing the school choice scholarship program, and funding the unique scholarship program for needy families so that we can have an educated workforce at all levels. This Senate Republican budget is the best option we have now. House and Senate Republicans are united in being responsible with and respectful of your tax dollars. We are united in encouraging economic growth and job creation. This is truly a budget that is balanced, not only in terms of the numbers, but also in terms of the spirit of compromise and accommodating the many needs and wishes of the majority of our citizens. Both House and Senate Republicans care deeply about the state and the people in it, and we hope our friends from the other side of the aisle will join us in passing this budget.
Thanks, Mike. Any questions?